Hey everyone, and welcome to another box office video. So far this year, I think it's been very interesting to see what movies have made a ridiculous amount of money and what movies have sort of underperformed, because it's kind of the opposite of what we've seen over the last, 10 years in Hollywood. So far this year, we've gotten some massive hits, particularly in the horror genre, which we'll get into Scream 6 in this video. But we've seen some big hits in this year already through the first 3 months. It's incredible. And we've seen some high quality cinema as well. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, we've seen superhero movies kind of underperform so far. Which, granted, we're only 2 superhero movies in, so I'm not one of those guys that's going to be like, superhero movies are over or anything. No, not by any means, but it's impossible to talk about the movie that we're going to talk about in this video without kind of that intro, in that initially people may look at this year and say, oh, it's been kind of a down year, whenever really it's been a great year so far, or a great start to the year, I would say. So with that bit of fluff out of the way, let's get into the weekend box office report, because we're gonna end on a couple of really great notes, but we got to start on something bad, and that is Shazam: Fury of the Gods opening at number 1. It did open at number 1, but it only grossed $30.5 million, $20 million less than what the first Shazam opened up to, and not how I think they wanted this movie to go. Now, it should be said before I dive deeper into the video that this Shazam movie was made by the former regime at Warner Brothers, so this is not an indication of where things are going to go under the guise of James Gunn and Peter Safran. This is not their movie. They're releasing it, trying to make some money here from the previous regime, but I just wanted to get that out of the way because I'm actually a big believer in how those two are going to approach DC in the future. Unfortunately, it looks like it's not going to be with Shazam. Now, granted, the projections weren't particularly high for this movie. I think that they were projected to be in the mid-30s, but even then, it didn't meet those projections. It barely got over $30 million this weekend, and that's just not what you want to see of a franchise where the first one was critically acclaimed for the most part. I haven't met anyone that doesn't like the movie, and that movie made, I think, close to $400 million, $50 million in its opening weekend. And now this one just randomly only makes $30 million. Granted, the critical reviews have not been what I'm sure DC wanted to see. I think right now it's sitting in the mid-50s. I'll have to fact check that during this video. I myself haven't seen it quite yet. I'm going to make sure that I go see it sometime this week so I can actually give an honest opinion about the movie. So right now, what I say here about superhero movies, it's just what I've seen so far in the trailer and what I've seen from their reactions. So I just wanted to make sure I got that out of the way so that if I'm wrong about something here, I don't get flamed in my comments. But anyway, between this film and Ant-Man Quantumania, which I think is going to end up losing Marvel money whenever you actually look at how much the movie costs to make, how much it costs to market, and the cut that the theaters get, I think whenever you look at those two superhero movies, we're seeing a pattern here where audiences aren't flocking to the theaters to see a superhero film where it's just a CGI fest the entire time. No, it doesn't matter that we got a great Shazam movie 4 years ago, right? It doesn't matter that we got a great performance from Jonathan Majors in Ant-Man Quantumania, as well as just the love for Paul Rudd and the Ant-Man character heading into that film. I feel like right now what audiences are missing are real stakes that we can relate to. Because whenever it comes to what I've seen in the trailers for Shazam, it just seems like they're fighting this dragon in parts, and there's a lot of like gods and stuff. The stakes, I feel like, aren't closer to home. Whenever you think of the first Avengers movie, right? At its core, that movie is about a team coming together and trying to save New York City. It isn't that complicated. Whereas, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, you have all these people with incredible powers to where it's not even clear what makes each of these guys unique. It just seems like superhero fodder at this point. And then Ant-Man Quantumania is basically a space movie where it's in front of a green screen for like 95% of the time. And I think audiences are just kind of tired of that. It's hard for me to say that this is an indication of where superhero movies are going, because we've seen superhero movies be successful, but these two kind of seem like very similar types of superhero movies that we're getting right now. Granted, one of them takes place on Earth, The other one takes place in the quantum realm. But, I mean, whenever you see a pattern in this kind of stuff, you start to look at what's similar between these two. Because they're not even made by the same studio. We have a Marvel movie that underperformed this year and a DC movie that underperformed. So, where's the similarity? I would imagine that this movie is going to drop big time percentage-wise weekend over weekend, and right now the superhero genre needs Guardians of the Galaxy 3 to be good. I think it will be. I have faith in James Gunn as a director. But yeah, that movie's got to be good. Otherwise, there's going to be a bigger conversation about the state of superhero movies right now. I still think that whenever done right, superhero movies, like any other genre, can be great. They can be successful. Okay, one is not an indication of where the rest of them are going. Okay, let's not overreact. But this is certainly concerning, and it's not great for the team behind Shazam if they want to progress forward in the DC universe. So with that out of the way, I have to talk about good things here, and there's plenty of good here as well. Let's talk about Scream 6. Scream 6 in its second weekend got second place and grossed $17 million, only dropping 60% weekend over weekend. And I didn't make a video about it last week, but its opening weekend was insanely good for the sixth iteration of that franchise. Really, any franchise, honestly. The previous Scream movie made about $140 million whenever it was all said and done, and Scream 6 is now sitting only in its second weekend at $116 million. So, a couple of things. One, we're going to get more Scream movies. And two, they have done a great job of introducing this younger cast to audiences, particularly with some of their casting choices. Jenna Ortega, I think, is a superstar now. I truly do believe that while the Scream franchise, just in general, is gonna get people into the seats, the question that we need to be asking is, what is getting the younger audience into the theater to see this 30-year-old franchise, right? What is different here? And I think it's because they've done a great job of teeing up the younger cast that's featured in this movie. And then not only were they able to get people into the seats on that opening weekend, resulting in a huge weekend for the franchise, but now it only drops 60% weekend over weekend because it is a good movie. They are bringing the quality as well as the cast that they need, which whenever you have both of those things, a franchise can last forever. You know, as long as the movies are good, why not get more? I think it's going to continue to do well next weekend as well because really the only new release that we have coming out is Dungeons & Dragons, which, you know, people are going to go see Dungeons & Dragons, especially with the fact that it's supposed to be pretty good. People are going to go see that movie, but there's not really a horror movie that's going to come out. And this one, that is good, I think is going to continue to draw in audiences. And Scream is in a very unique situation where it can appeal to older audiences that saw that first Scream movie come out 30-ish years ago, I guess. And it can draw in younger audiences, so people are coming together for this franchise. And it's just incredible whenever we can get multiple generations in to unify and love a movie together. So, all the power to Scream 6. I don't think it's leaving the top 5 anytime soon. Great second weekend. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is Creed 3 is a huge success. I made a box office video a couple of weekends ago talking about how successful its opening weekend is, and now here we are in its third week. It's at number 3 in the box office. It has had really great percentage drops weekend over weekend. Great as in good. They haven't been big numbers. And now it is the highest grossing movie in the Creed trilogy, I guess. Through only 3 weeks, this movie has grossed worldwide over $220 million. The next closest they have in that franchise is Creed 2 at $214 million. And this is absolutely major. I'm going to go back to some of the points I made in my previous video. This shows us a few things. One, Michael B. Jordan is a huge star. He's been a huge star, but now, we're seeing people go to the theater to see him, not just to see Rocky, which leads me to my second point that they don't really need Rocky for this franchise to be successful. They made a great movie that had Apollo Creed at the center. Adonis Creed, I mean to say. I called him Apollo throughout my review for that movie, which I filmed. I don't know if I'm posting that before this, but okay, Adonis Creed. They showed that Adonis Creed can be at the forefront of this franchise, and people will flock to see it, and it will be a good movie. So we are absolutely going to get a Creed 4 if Michael B. Jordan wants to do it. I hope that they can bring Sly back, and we're going to see Michael B. Jordan in the director chair again, because not only did he make a good movie, but he made a good movie that made money, and the studios love money. I had the opportunity to go see Creed 3 finally yesterday, and it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, please support this film with your hard-earned cash. It's well worth the price of admission, barring anybody using their phones, which there were 3 people in the freaking theater that used their phones this time. Guys, if you're watching this video and you're thinking about using your phone in a movie, please just don't. Just don't. Anyway, those 3 jerks didn't take away from my enjoyment of the movie. They only distracted me during certain parts. But anyway, back to my point. Go watch Creed 3. Support this movie. It is a great film. But with that being said, you guys, I don't have a whole lot more to go over. I'm looking forward to seeing what Dungeons & Dragons does this upcoming weekend. Except, does it come out this weekend or 2 weeks from now? Hold on. Oh my god, no, John Wick Chapter 4 comes out this weekend. I'm sorry. Yeah, John Wick Chapter 4 is going to blow the roof off the box office. Oh my god. This is insane. So we'll have John Wick Chapter 4, Dungeons & Dragons. What's the next week? Super Mario Brothers and Air. I'm really looking forward to Air. I'm reading the Nike book right now, so I've been looking forward to that movie. It is going to be an insane next few weeks. Wow, oh my god. Thank you guys so much for deciding to click and watch my video out of all the other videos on this website. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't already and you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.